Welcome to the Modern Stock Car Cup Tour in race number 6 out of 28 in season number 3. It's the high banks of Bristol in the border between Tennessee and Kentucky. It's the HCA Healthcare 500 in the first and only Bristol event this year. We had 2 in season 2, but we cut it back to 1 in season 3 after there were some, sort of controversial, I'd say not miscues, but sort of just technicalities that kind of threw off the quality of the racing, especially that first race. It wasn't exactly a wreck fest or a passing fest. It was just sort of in the middle. So we decided to cut out the middleman and just have one Bristol race, and that would be all, and it will be right here, right now. It's the HCA Healthcare 500. Now, today, I am not alone in the broadcasting booth. You've known me since season 1. I've usually been the lone commentator. Well, because I was a little bit under the weather today, I decided to get an assistant to help me. It would be Ryan Adema, who's driving in the number 92 this year for Adema Racing Enterprises. He is joining me in the booth today for the first ever co-commentating in the MSCCT. Welcome aboard, Ryan.
Hello, how's it going?
It's wonderful. It's freezing outside, so my window is closed, but it is what it is. But Bristol's pretty warm. It's 33 degrees, because that's fine.
It's crispy 33 over there in Bristol. Got to be warming up those 10 people in the stands, I'm sure.
Well, you're from Florida, so you don't get to experience the cold weather that often.
Yeah, we actually don't get that at all down here. So
Cold
we
weather
got it.
doesn't... You guys wear like a parka in 60-degree weather.
It did snow once, 2 years ago. It pretty much shut down all of St. Petersburg. It was great.
I thought that was
Um,
like the northern tip of Florida.
it went all the way down to about Lake Okeechobee. It wasn't, well, the snow there, it basically melted on contact, so I wouldn't really call it snow, per se, if you will, but it did technically snow down there.
For all intents and purposes, it snowed in Florida. But yeah, I can
The rain
imagine that would
flood.
probably mess it up. But remember,
The
you might
rain
remember
flood.
back in 2002, the Cup race at Bristol had a snow delay because when it was in late March, it started snowing in Bristol, Tennessee. So that is an interesting way to tie that in. But we are just getting done with qualifying. Ryan Adema on the pole with a 14.006. And of course, because of the fact that we're doing the co-commentating with everything that's working with the game, it does make it so that we have to run the qualifying session on the broadcast before we actually get started with the recording, since it doesn't give us the regular 5 minutes that it would if I was running an offline race as normal. So the qualifying is a little bit messed up, but it should be fine for today. But it's the HCA Healthcare 500, 150 laps of exciting racing on the high banks of Bristol. I gotta tell you, as somebody who is a short track enthusiast just like you are, what do you think about Bristol? You didn't win here last year. Your only short track win was at Martinsville. What are your expectations for this Bristol race?
It'll be a good race either way. I mean, it's a tight little bull ring and has, high banks, carry a lot of speed around the corners, a lot more speed than most other short tracks. Probably all of them, actually. Um, even a bad race at Bristol is a good race comparatively.
I would have to agree. I mean, you know, the high lane is really the fast lane here. The low lane's not going to really get you far. The high lane is what makes you pass and what makes you good.
Drivers,
So the
start
only
your
As
engine!
we have our starting command for the HCA Healthcare 500 from Bristol Motor Speedway in Bristol, Tennessee. We're just about to get started here. It's Dan Wilkins and Ryan Adema in the booth. Can't wait for it. 150 laps. Probably a lot of wrecking and a lot of exciting racing, I gotta tell you. This is our first true short track this year since we've had Super Speedway, Speedway. We had we had a road course at Watkins Glen, and then we had another Super Speedway in Michigan. So this is going to be a little bit of an aberration than what we're used to. Race number 6, our first short track of the year, Bristol, Tennessee. 150 laps from the half-mile short track. Green flag in the air.
a great start is Ryan Adema with the number 20 of Daniel Rivera to his outside, making a blistering pass on the outside, jumping into the lead for lap 1. Dan Wilkins chugging along in third, making looks like a couple passes back there. Not too sure. Looks like Luis is falling back a little bit down there in 5th, I believe, from my point of view. Quite calm first laps, actually. I was expecting a lot more from these drivers. Very hungry first race in a little while. Actually filing into line quite nicely as Daniel Rivera takes the lead for the first few laps of the HCA race at Bristol.
Yeah, I gotta say, I was kind of expecting that, considering that, as I had said in pre-race, the high line is the best line. It has the best way of getting around the track. You know, it's a little bit of a myth around here that the shortest way around is the best way around. Well, that's not true at Bristol. When you have that high line, especially with the different multi-groove racing that we have here, it really makes it a interesting groove to have. So it changes things up a little bit. So that's why I was kind of thinking in the back burner of my head, I was thinking, well, whoever's starting first today is probably not going to be in the most ideal position on these first couple of laps, because whoever's starting on the outside pole is going to give them a good challenge on these first couple of laps, and that's exactly what we saw with Daniel Rivera.
Oh yeah, Daniel Rivera almost very easily pulled away from the number 92 of Ryan Adema. On another, speaking of starting on the bottom, Luis Aguilar dropping down from a good starting position all the way to 12th in the first 7 laps of this race. Definitely, I don't know if it's a poor handling car or if he just really got a bad draw on that restart, but I'm sure that's not what DWR and Dan Wilkins Racing wanted to see out of that 55 right now.
Well, yeah, this is one of Aguilar's first races with the team. He joined at Michigan after it was sort of a weird situation with the sort of dissolvement of Buck Racing, who, of course, back in Season 2 was in a coalition with Adema Buck Racing. They won a few races. Eventually, they won the championship with that 92, and his teammate, the 19 of Chase Buck, the other co-owner on the team, he also made the championship lottery. But then it ended up really falling out of favor, and everybody eventually left the team. Aguilar left for DWR, and Chase eventually had to give in, as it looks like we have a yellow flag on the track, unless I'm seeing things. No? I thought the flagman was waving the yellow flag, but it must have been my eyes messing with me or something. We are still green on lap number 12, but the 55 was, bought out by DWR, and then the 19 eventually merged with Werrell Daltrip Motorsports. Chase is running 29th right now, and his new team owner, Werrell Daltrip, is running in 24th, just a few positions ahead. So they're really running around mid-pack, but I don't know if that'll really make a huge difference in the end. But it was just really interesting to see how two cars go to the Champions Lottery just last year, was gone in the blink of an eye, and now are, basically dissolved, and they merge with WDM. So a really interesting story there, but, it's going to be interesting to see how the 55 does, especially since Dan Wilkins Racing is a multi-manufacturer team. You have the 00 in a Ford, you have the 67 in a Chevrolet, and then the 55 in a Dodge, and then the 13 in a Ford. So you got 3 different manufacturers represented. All you need is a Toyota, and you got the whole 9 yards right there. But I just kind of noticed that 3 of the 4 Dan Wilkins cars are running literally back to back to back. Lattimore in 12th, Aguilar in 13th, and Donna Wilkins in 4th. But Daniel Rivera still was a lead over Ryan Adema and that 4th DWR car, Dan Wilkins himself in the 00.
Say these 3 cars, or really 5 up front here, they seem to be, so far they're the best 5. They're pulling away a little bit from the 11th of Snyder there. Snyder also pulling away from Christian Coppola, but right now it looks like a 5-horse race. They're kind of biding their time, got 130 laps to go. Don't really need to make many strong moves. Better just, I think all these 5 drivers just want to save their cars, keep it smooth, keep it consistent.
Keep it clean.
Better that than junking the car in the first 30 laps of the race, I think.
Yeah, you don't want to race too hard when you're running here because there's no need to.
I say, it looks like the rest of the field, kind of same philosophy here, all sort of single file all the way through. The only person really chancing it is actually Alvarez. A couple corners before I saw him try and take a dip to the outside of the number 16 of Donna Wilkins. No, everybody's kind of single file, buying their time right now.
Everybody's buying their time because the pit strategy is really not going to come in until we're maybe a third or maybe about 3/8 of the way through the race. Because right now the fuel window is landing at right around 60 to 70 laps here at Bristol. So I don't know if that'll change if a caution comes out. If there is a early yellow or whatever, then maybe, just maybe, they're going to pit under the yellow flag. But there's still a possibility, and I think a quite likely possibility that we are going to stay green until these leaders come down pit lane for their first cycle of green flag pit stops. I would not be surprised of that at all if that ends up being the case, as Dan Wilkins just went really far high, as we do have a yellow for a stopped car in turn number 4.
Looks like that would be
Armin Salvador.
Armin Salvador, yep.
He was just stopped on turn number 4, and looks like what happened was that he was running in the 20th position. Let's take a look at the instant replay here. He's running with his teammate, the 93 of Sarah Feng, and looks like his engine died. He lost power in the car. You're looking at his cockpit view right now. He completely lost power in the car and eventually came to a halt at the exit of turn number 4, and that's why the yellow came out, because he was stopped down there. The question was, who took the yellow flag in first? Because Adema and Rivera were side by side, and it looks like the 92 overtook the 20 before they got to the yellow.
And says they all come down pit road here. Number 92 coming in first with Rivera right behind him. This will be interesting to see how it all pans out with pit stops. I know pit speed is all going to be a factor here. I know earlier, Dan, you mentioned how the pit window was 60 to 70 laps. That would have put them right in the middle of this 150-lap race. What do you think that's going to do to them now that they've taken a pit stop on lap 30?
Well, that does extend it a little bit, so I think that if everybody that is coming on pit lane right now, if basically everybody has their same early race strategy, that'll probably mean that they get 4 tires and fuel here on lap 27. So that'll mean that if you keep everything the same with their, 60 to 70 lap pit window, and if they fill it up on gas, as looks like Rivera is going to beat out Ryan Adema on pit lane unless I was wrong. Although, it looks like I was wrong. He just ended up pulling out there. We'll see what it looks like. We'll just let that roll. But it'll probably mean that they at least can make it until maybe lap 100, maybe lap 95 if I'm not being generous. But I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't see us really going maybe any more than 60, 70 laps without a yellow, but that's just me, because a lot of things can change. You never know what you're going to see at Bristol.
That is entirely dependent on these restarts. As much as everybody fans out, restarts are always going to be crazy, because you can easily, well, maybe not easily, but if you're really aggressive, you can pick up quite a few positions there. And I think I would keep an eye on a few of these cars that I know are really aggressive here, as it looks like the restart orders. Actually, what is this restarter? We got Patrick starts.
I would honestly just let it pan out and see what happens.
Yeah. I was going to say, I'm going to ignore that for now. That 91's going around somebody. Okay.
We have several cars. We have 5 cars who are a lap down that are lining up on the inside. The 91 of Yuri Najimi, the 01 of Charlotte Kelly, Riley Wedge, Richard Birmingham, and Chase Buck are all a lap down. And then there's also several cars who are on the lead lap but are trying to stay there. I believe they're getting the free pass. I don't know, but we're going green. Lap 30, back underway from Bristol. That was a weird restart, and it will be a weird restart.
As Daniel Rivera stays in the lead, however, the 23, and it looks like 23 and the 08 of Patrick Starr rocket away from the field, probably looking to get their lap back. Don't know where they lost one, probably on pit road.
Definitely a lot of cars had bad pit stops. They lost their ground on pit road. That's something that is fairly common here. If another yellow comes out, they'll start at the rear of the lead lap. They won't have to go through that process again where they're just literally starting in front of the leaders. That's probably, if I'm going to be completely honest, I know it's kind of breaking the fourth wall, but it's probably some sort of rule or aspect that came with 2003 or earlier NASCAR rules, and they don't adapt to what we see today. That's why you don't see that in real life right now or anytime soon in this league. But that's happened before, and it's made a difference. So it's probably just some 2003 shtick from NASCAR.
I'm pretty sure it's if they didn't pit, then they stay out in front of the leaders. I'm fairly certain I'm not positive, but I believe that's what it was. Is Ryan Adema all over the back bumper of Dan Wilkins. Dan Wilkins goes to the outside of Revere, trying to make a pass on the outside using the lap car as a pick. Makes it stick easy. Almost no challenge from Rivera's going backwards. Ryan Adema
Rivera's going
Rivera
back. He's going to fall back to third after Adema and Wilkins both made that pass on the outside. I told you, that outside line is the best line to run. As now he's going to get held up by a lap car. That's the 85 of Riley Wedge. You know, I was going to talk about, in at least some length or detail, about the 85 of Riley Wedge, and he is having such just a struggle in his rookie year. You know, Adema Racing Enterprises is highly regarded as one of the top teams in this league, regardless of whether they're a Dodge team or a Pontiac team or whatever, because they do run both Dodges and Pontiacs. But still, the 85 was going to be a great contender for the Rookie of the Year. He's outside of the top 35 in points right now, and he is currently standing in 36, one lap down.
Yeah, I was going to say, it really hasn't been his year. I know he's wrecked out at Daytona, wrecked out at Watkins Glen. He's wrecked out almost everywhere. I think this might be his first finish if he doesn't wreck out or break down. That's another thing that's happened to the 85. I think Riley Wedge in the 85, bar none, has had the worst luck out of any driver I've seen so far.
I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, the rest of Adema Racing Enterprises has done fairly well. Ryan Adema currently has the points lead, and everybody else is at least in a somewhat decent spot because, you know, Doug Doering is in 23rd, you have Jesse Owens Jr. in 29th, and then basically falling off a cliff, it's Riley Wedge. He's actually in 41st. 41st is what you expect out of a premium motorsports car in NASCAR. Not one of the top machines, or at least one of the highest projected machines in the entire organization. That just didn't seem.
You know, Dan,
that
does remind me. You mentioned someone new that we haven't talked much about before. Doug Doering. He's back from season 2.
He is back, the two-time race winner. He won twice in the first half, but didn't make his return until this year after an incident involving Logan Thronberg at Michigan sidelined him until further notice. So that'll mean that Doug Doering is filling in for him in his number 30 Pontiac. So now it's an equal split at ARE. Two Dodges, both being Adema and Owens Jr., and then Doering and Riley Wedge are your two Pontiacs. So it splits it at 2-2. But he won twice last year in the second half, the first being at Pocono, where he basically dominated the entire race besides cautions. And then it was the last race of the first half, which was at Texas, the AT&T 500. He held off Santiago Alvarez. That was a good battle at the 1.5-mile quad oval. And he was able to get his second career win. And then he really did not have a good second half. But now, in just his first race, he's now running in the top 10. He just fell back to 7th after Kyle Driscoll made a good pass on him. But now he's still contending in just his first race. He still has it. He still knows what he's doing. Absolutely.
Back to the front here, Dan Wilkins is looking to relap the number 7 machine of Molly Fleming. Not really being able to get it done. He's looking low, looking high in the turns. Walking down the field here. Let's run through the field so we all know where everybody is. In second place is number 92 of Ryan Adema. Back in third would be the number 20 of Daniel Rivera, falling back a little bit. In fourth, we have the number 31 machine of Christian Coppola. A little bit back in fifth, we have number 62 of Brennan Wilmington. Sixth, we have Kyle Driscoll. In seventh, we have the number 30 of Doug Doering. Eighth is Snyder. Ninth is Chris Lattimore. 10th would be Darian Armstorff. Back in 11th, we have JJU. 12th would be Creed Daniel. 13th, Nolo Hamilton. 14th,
Looks like we have somebody blowing up back here. Sorry to interrupt. That's the 53 of Kieran Wolf. Let me see if I can get on their view right there. 53 of Kieran Wolf blowing up. This might will bring out a yellow.
Yeah, it does bring caution.
Second caution of the night. Second for mechanical issues. This will be an interesting race back to the line on lap 53. And there you go. Dan Wilkins still leads under caution. I was going to say, this has been an interesting first half of the race so far, considering that the two yellows have both been for mechanical issues. The 52 lost power in his car, didn't get anything to run, it just shut off with no way of refiring, and then the 53 just blew up off of 2. And again, that brings out our second yellow, this time on lap number 54, just crossing over on the lap 55. Your current top 5, Dan Wilkins, Ryan Adema, Daniel Rivera, Christian Coppola, and last week's winner, Brennan Wilmington. So we'll see how these pit stops are going, since obviously the leaders are pitting, and we'll see how it ends up shaping out, since, there was a bit of a lead shift after the first round of yellow flag pit stops. Do we see that again? Do we see a lead change following these pit stops?
I think we will. I'm going to keep an eye on the pit lane 1 cam here, see where they all come out as the front runners make their way onto the other side of the track here. It looks like we have 4 cars staying out, one of which is the 85 of Riley
Those are your
Wedge.
lap cars. That's Wedge, Kelly, Chase, and
Right.
Birmingham.
Right.
They can't go on the first lap since they're not on the lead lap of the pace, so they can't pit on the first go-around.
Sorry about that. Forgot about the fact that we've already got lap cars 50 laps into this. Looks like Dan Wilkins is going to be the first off of pit road with the number. Couldn't really see that car as it went by, but then Dan Rivera comes out third, 31 fourth. That'll be a race off pit road.
And it looks like the 30 overtook the 62, although that might just be a factor of him being on that outside. I don't know if it's going to be changing, but everybody's going to sort of file back into where they were. I mean, that wasn't really much of an aberration from where it was before, although I would like to note that Brandon Allen has some rear end damage in that number 70 Angry Orchard Chevrolet for Black Swan Racing, so he might have made some contact while we were under green, but we didn't just get to take a look at that. He's currently running 29, so that might affect how he does when we go green, so that'll be interesting to see if he can stay on pace.
Yeah, it's weight reduction. He'll go faster, don't worry. You don't need that rear bumper at Bristol.
We'll see if the pace lights come off this time by, and they do. So we will go green this time around. We'll be on lap number 59.
Let's see. Pat kind of split back there. They're catching up now.
I've always wondered, you are the sprint car driver in town. I wonder what it would... Well, you're one of 2 sprint car drivers in this organization, but I wonder if sprint cars would be able to work at Bristol, like the pavement version.
They've run them before. It was a one-time event. They were running like, I think, 12, 13-second laps, actually. Full throttle the whole race. Anyway, back to the MSCCT.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Big lead for the 00.
Ryan Adema struggling to get by that lap cars. Daniel Rivera having even more trouble up there.
He's having trouble all night.
He's all over the place on my end. Oh, there's some handling issues maybe. It looks really loose.
It is definitely looking loose, and in turn 2, it's probably looking like he's trying to, manhandle that car and save it so that it doesn't end up going around. Probably some handling issues for that 20 car, but you got to give him some props for being able to stay in that 3rd position and not fall back even further, because he led for a few laps and obviously wasn't able to hold it down after the restart, but being able to stay in 3rd with a hard charging 31 behind him, that's got to be something to look out for.
Christian, he wants that podium. I know him well enough to know he's definitely not content with where he's at. So I can't imagine with a poor handling car, Rivera is not feeling at least a little bit of pressure in that machine there.
Well, I gotta tell you, there is a big gap between 2nd and 3rd. Ryan Adema in the 92 is 15 hundredths of a second behind the leader. Well, guess what? Daniel Rivera is a full second back. There is at least, I'd say, a 3/4 of a second gap, and that just grew to over a second gap. It is 1.15 seconds. That is the gap between 2nd and 3rd right now, and it continues to grow. The 20 is really going slow right now, and I don't think this will last much longer. I think there will be a breaking point somewhere.
So I think they just can't get around the 20, and he's holding everybody up right now. I don't think Christian has I don't know if he doesn't have the grip on the outside or what, but he's almost
some cars
stuck
like to run the inside. I mean, some people are not that comfortable with going outside of their comfort zone at a track like Bristol.
It's one of those situations where, you don't want to go outside your comfort, but you have to. There's nowhere else to go. They call it, the Great Coliseum. You can't run anywhere. You can't hide. if you don't go to the outside, you're locking half the track away from yourself. I don't understand why some of these guys aren't trying to at least try, or hell, when they leave a gap on the bottom like they just did, they don't try and put a nose in there.
I feel like it's because they know that the bottom line doesn't work that well, but none of them want to move up to the outside. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but I guess they're just running the status quo. I mean, look, the 00 and the 92 have both run the bottom line basically all night, except for that one time when a 00 Dan Wilkins, he made that pass on the outside to take the lead. He hasn't given it up since. But I gotta tell you, running the bottom line doesn't matter that much when you're in control. When you're not in control, it's when you have to get out of your, it's when you have to go out of your status quo and move to the high line. Try to run the middle groove. See if something else works, because this single file train racing is not going to work for much longer.
I mean, even if it does work, they're not going to go anywhere. I mean, the tires are going to wear down eventually here, so I'm guessing by then they can't do this forever.
No, they can't. There's no way.
I mean, you can see some of them kind of bobbing and weaving down the straights here. I don't know if they're getting loose under power, if they're peeking around the guy in front of them, seeing what they can make work, but not much happening. Darian Armstrong taking a look to the outside of the 33, and Nolo Hamilton doesn't really do anything. Looks like... No, they're all still single file. Actually, tell a lie. Jacob Thibodeau's I think he went around the outside of Creed Daniel there for a moment.
Yeah, looks like he made that pass. I mean, Thibodeau is one of the he is a lap down. Only 25 cars are on the lead lap right now. There is a group of 12 cars that do not hold lead lap positions right now. And there are 2 cars, of course, that are in the garage. That would be the 53 of Kieran Wolf with a valve problem. We did confirm it with a valve problem. And then the 52, no power in his car, and he was done. But, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that none of these yellows have been from actual incidents. They've all been from mechanical problems. One from the 53, one from the 52. Speaking of the 50s, let's take a look at the 54 of Leland Hill. He was another rookie that people were talking about, and he's taken that 36 spot now since Riley Wedge actually moved up a bit. Riley Wedge is currently in... Where is he? He's 32nd. So he's still a lap down, but he moved up a little bit, and Leland Hill has fallen back to 36. But he was another rookie that people didn't really look into, and, he was being looked at as a sleeper. He's had some good performances, but obviously this just wasn't really his night. Short tracks aren't really his thing. Road courses are more of his style, and, it's like AJ Allmendinger. He was a road course ringer, but he still was able to do good on some ovals. I mean, he literally won the Las Vegas race about 3 hours before we started recording, so take that as you will. But Leland Hill, a native of Brighton in the United Kingdom, he's got a lot of road courses around him. I think the F1 track for the British Grand Prix, that is somewhere near that place in southeastern England. But just something to consider, that these guys that are road course ringers don't always do so well in the ovals. But here's a grand exception. Daniel Rivera, he is a great road course ringer. He's shown it off before, and now he's running third. Because he knows that just because he runs good on road courses doesn't mean that he has no talent anywhere else. He's doing good on this short track because he knows what he's doing.
I'll tell you what, he's making his car as wide as possible. You can tell the guys behind him, they're much faster than me. I don't know if they just don't want to pass him or if Dan's been blocking this whole time.
I feel like he's been blocking. I mean, if you look at the top left of your screen right now, there is a 4-second gap between second and third. Literally, like, all of turns 1 and 2 are empty.
Well, Dan Wilkins and Ryan Anima really walking the park right now. Not really to their own volition, as we previously mentioned. But
Dan Wilkins currently...
Let's take a moment to look down the field here, why don't we?
Yeah, before you start, leader's currently dealing with lap traffic, so that gap might allow Adama to get a little bit of ground, and it also might allow the 20 and everybody behind him to catch up just a little bit.
Let's say. That is true. I wonder how well I can deal with lap traffic. I know nobody's wanting to go to the outside, but this is what we were talking about. You can't stay to the bottom. Adama will catch up if he doesn't go high.
He's gaining ground right now. He gained just about a tenth of a second, if not more, on that last lap alone.
Let's see how much he gains this lap.
0.89 to 0.79.
Oh,
That was a tenth of a second. But yeah, let's go through the field.
Anyway, in first, we have the 00 of Dan Wilkins. In second, obviously, we have the number 92 of Ryan Adema. In third, the number 20 of Daniel Rivera. 31st, we have Christian Coppola. 30th, we have Doug Doering moving up to 5th. And in 26th, we have Patrick Starr.
Brennan Wilmington's in 6th. Hunter Walker's a lapped car.
And say Snyder's in 7th. Lattimore's in 8th. JJU's in 9th. Going back to 10th, we have Nolo Hamilton. In 11th, we have Darian Armstorff. In 12th, we have Reese. In 13th, we have Creed Daniel. In 14th, we have Jesse Owens Jr. In 15th, we have Santiago Alvarez. Going back a little, there's a lot of lap traffic in between these cars. In 16th, we have 05 of Green.
Another road ringer we talked about.
17th, we have Daltrip. Some more lap traffic there. 18th, we have Aguilar. 19th, we have Reeves. 20th is Driscoll. 21st is Donna Wilkins. Not to be confused with Dan, of course. 29th is...
And yes, there is a relation.
Yes. In 22nd, Ronnie Martin. 23rd is Amelia Nielsen. 24th is Callan Fleming. 25th, right with Dan Wilkins breathing down her neck, is Sarah Fang.
Last lead lap car on the track, that would be Sarah Fang. Her teammate, Armin Salvador, was out on lap 27 with that mechanical problem. And VBM, they haven't really been a actively improving team. They've just been staying status quo. They have 3 career wins just from last season alone. They really were surprising in how competitive they were, but at the same time, they weren't getting as much credit as they had really deserved. Sarah Fang got her first win at Phoenix, which was the first race of the second half. I think many people often regard that Phoenix race from Season 2 as one of either the worst or one of the most chaotic races in league history, since it had 8 cautions and 57% of the laps were held under yellow. There were more yellow than under green. It was an absolute wreck fest. Not very fun, but then Sarah Fang was able to bring it home, as I think she might have been one of the few cars that was left, and she even had damage when she rolled into victory lane. So that was interesting, to say the least. But then Armin Salvador, that car who's in the garage, finishing last and 40th, he also had a 2-win season last year, winning at Indianapolis in the Brickyard 400 in a really good pit strategy battle with Christian Coppola. And then in the second Bristol race in Season 2, the night race, he took home the win. He beat out some other contenders in that field, including the 92 of Ryan Adema, but wasn't able to give that position up, and he just took home the win. I believe he didn't even lead the most laps. He was just there at the right place at the right time. But yeah, that's how it's been for VBM. They haven't won this year, and I don't honestly think they will.
I don't know. I think they have a shot. I've looked at it. I don't think they're putting some of their upgrades in the right place. I know they have good drivers in there, but you can't really do much with good drivers if the car doesn't hold up under their feet. And I think that's what's happening to them right now, is they have all this talent in the driver's seat, but they just can't go anywhere because, like you said, a couple of them are in the garage. You have all the way in the back of the field. It's just not looking too good for VBM right now.
Yes, here comes Ryan Adema. He might make a pass here. He was running that outside line, and Wilkins was on the inside. He's really trying to hold off the 92 because the 93 of Sarah Fang is the one that's holding him up. He's right down his neck.
Follow the leader. That doesn't really work too well. I guess they're both really content to stay in the line here. As we conga line all the way to lap 107 here. Leaders are there. Let's go back to the third place car, Daniel Rivera, see what he's up to.
He's doing his thing. He's His last lap was a 14.753, while keep in mind the 92 of Ryan Adema, he just ran a 14.567, so that's about 200ths of a second faster, although his most recent lap on lap 107 was actually a lot slower. It was very comparable to his time. That would be a 14.755, but that's also because of the fact that, yeah, he was running with lap traffic.
Interesting thing to note here is John Reese has just pulled the fastest lap of the race at 13.972.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he's at the top of the board by a long shot.
With Kyle Driscoll in second with a 14.032, and the number 19 of Chase Buck with a 14.061.
And Wilkins and Adema were just side by side through that corner. They were running really close to each other, but the 92 has since backed off, and he is now falling back. Not really with a lot of help. Of course, there's nothing to really fall back on since the people who are in third and so on are basically a half lap behind them. So losing that secondary help there, that's not really good since you don't have anybody to push you. You don't have anybody to give you a good shot since literally third place coming off of turn number 2 and then second place just coming off of turn number 4. They're quite literally a half lap behind.
I'll tell you the truth, I don't think you want to be pushed. I would argue it's actually better to not have anybody behind you. You don't have to worry about getting freight trained. You don't have to worry about getting bumped into the fence here. Dan Wilkins still struggling to pass the lap car of Sarah Fang. Everybody's struggling to pass today. Not really much passing happening here.
He got a great run off of turn 4 there. He's trying to get himself in a better position to maybe make a pass. As Wilkins went up high a little bit, or not really high, but to that middle groove, he finally is starting in these last couple of laps to use different grooves. My opinion, there's going to be green flag pit stops before we can actually see a lead change.
I think that's what it looks like it's going to come down to is green flag pit stops. If no cautions happen, Dan Wilkins diving really low, actually.
Oh, look at this. Ryan Adema might make a pass here. He will. Ryan Adema, your new leader, with less than 40 to go.
Dan Wilkins looks a little slow, actually. Topping out at... He's slowing. Oh, no, there he goes. All right. Thought he might have had something wrong with his car there for a minute.
I mean, that would have been a big heartbreak if he wasn't. He probably has already locked the majority of laps led. He's probably already locked that up, but still, that won't matter at the end, since there's no points bonuses if you lead the most laps or whatnot. Although, you
might
also
go back
have to
around him. Oh, nope.
Look at this. He's going high. He's gonna go back to that middle groove. Think about it this way: the lead change that eventually, stuck for Ian Korob when he won here in the first Bristol race of Season 2, that was with 31 to go. Guess what? We have 30 to go right now. That lead change might be the last one, although it is very unlikely that sticks considering the lap traffic. I mean, double zero is right there. Really, he's right there.
So now Dan Wilkins all over the back bumper of Ryan Adema.
You couldn't fit a butterfly in between those two cars. They are really close.
Let's see. Jumping back to Dan Rivera, there's still Dan Rivera and the 4-car trains pulling away. Actually, I think they're gaining on the... Nah. I don't think they're gaining much. Never mind.
They're not gaining much at all. Look at the double zero. He ran that outside line. It was a photo finish at that line. The double zero has reclaimed the lead. They're now side by side off of 2. They're going to be really in a good battle. He's now cleared the 92. Dan Wilkins is your new leader on lap 124, but Adema shoots back up the outside. And Dan Wilkins is going to pit lane.
Let's see how this works out.
Let's see how this works out. Dan Wilkins going into the pits. Pit road speed is 45 for those at home. He's not the only one to enter pit lane. Christian Coppola is another one as well.
Adema is still on track in first place behind the lap traffic here. A couple more cars diving in as we speak. Looks like Ronnie Martin looking low.
And now Ryan Adema's coming in.
Dan Wilkins just entering his pit box now for tires. Hunter Walker coming in.
He's a lap car, but
JJU
yeah,
coming in.
this will mean that...
Oh, crash!
Oh! Who we
Yuri
got?
Najimi into the fence. Coming into the pit road. I don't know if that's that brought out a caution. That is disastrous for Dan Wilkins and Ryan Adema.
The yellow flag is out, but I can't find the incident that occurred. Do you know who
Yes,
wrecked?
number 91 car of Yuri Najim backed it into the fence.
I see. She has rear end damage. Let's take a look. Thank you for pointing that out. That is our first actual crash of the day. As here's what happened. Let's take a look at the instant replay. So oh, okay. I see what happened here. Let's take a look at the super slow-mo. The 65 of Creed Daniel was on the inside, and the 91 was trying to get the pit lane. And this is the result. They just collided. I guess the 91 was trying to cut across a lane that was full and backed it into the fence. Actually, the two rear wheels came off the ground. That was obviously a hard hit. That'll probably either send Najimi out of the race or out of contention for today. As you said, this is the worst time possible to have a caution, because you have the leaders coming in on pit lane for green flag pit stops, and this ended up happening as a direct result, mind you, of that of the green flag pit stops. We're going to take a look at the two hood cameras here. First, from the 65 of Creed Daniel. Let's take a look. And it looks like the 91 didn't make any further contact with drivers on the track, just that 65 of Creed Daniel. Let's take a look from the 91 of Yuri Najimi. Oh, backed it into the fence there. Almost made contact with the 05 and with the 7, but Yuri Najimi is back on track, except with a lot of rear end damage. That is heartbreaking for that 91 team, who wasn't really running at the front, but this is really going to make it weird. My scoreboard on the top left is showing me that Chris Lattimore is the leader. It's telling me that Ryan Adema is in 14th, but I don't know how that's going to work.
Ryan Adema is currently on pole with Christian Coppola behind him. He's not a lap down, but it looked like I saw Dan Wilkins. No, it doesn't. No, Dan Wilkins got his lap back right behind Ryan Adema in 15th.
What in the world? I see what they're doing here.
This doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
They're putting the top 13 on the lead lap and scoring Chris Lattimore as the leader, but they're going to put everyone from 14th to 23rd in front of the leaders, as we saw before. This is going to have to involve a sort of extended yellow here.
Well, they're going green, it looks like. I guess. All right. I guess Ryan Adema will take the green flag with Dan Wilkins right behind him and Daniel Revere in third. Or, not third, 15th. My apologies.
Yeah, they're going to do a do-over here. Yeah. They are going to... Okay. And JJU has actually wrecked off of 4 as they came to the green flag. So, there's your incident right there. JJU actually was blowing up. I don't know if you saw this. He was restarting from 23rd. His engine started to blow on the backstretch. Yeah, there it is. Engine started to blow up, and then, you know, he's stuck on the top line in 23rd. So, he has nowhere to go. His engine is blowing up. That's just great. And then as the green flag flies, and then the yellow immediately comes out for JJ, and this jams up everybody. But just let it be known, the caution was not for JJU. It was for the fact that the restart was not aligned properly, and therefore everybody's just going to have some extra caution laps, and they're going to get their laps back so that we don't have a chaotic restart like we did just a few laps ago. So this is I'm going to be completely transparent here. an intentional yellow thrown so that everybody can get back on pace and that they can avoid having a unusual restart of that nature. So that was not for JJU. That was an intentional yellow flag thrown to clear up the confusion from earlier. So right now on lap 135.
Apologies for that. Had a little bit of an issue on the back end of the race there.
Yeah, hopefully, I mean, that was good thing that it happened under yellow and not under green flag conditions. That wouldn't have been good. I would have had to cover for you there. Right now, assuming that the top 10 does not change, it will be... Well, the pace lights are still on, so we won't go green this time by. But your current top 10 is Kyle Driscoll, Amelia Nielsen, Callan Fleming, the O2 of John Reese, Werrell Daltrip, Chris Lattimore, Matthew Green, Ronnie Martin, Jesse Owens Jr., and Nelson Reeves. Of course, this is going to make a weird restart because Kyle Driscoll has damage, and I'd say rather incriminating damage, on the right side of his car. Does that mean that he's going to possibly be slower when the restart happens so that maybe Nielsen can make the pass on the outside? I don't know. But we're going to go green probably with 13 or 12 to go, so that is going to make it real interesting.
They're going to have to make some moves and fast if they want to get to the front. I would like to take a moment to remind the field, at least from who was fast and who was slow, it has essentially been flipped. You have you have the guys that were leading up in, I think, 15th, 14th in that area. The guys that were in 15th and 14th are now, like Kyle Driscoll, he's now in first. As you see the lap cars pulling in beside the leaders now.
Dan Wilkins, who led the majority of the laps today, is in 15th. Ryan Adema in 14th. And then, of course, Daniel Rivera, who had, been in third with the bronze for a lot of us, was now relegated to 16th. So this will be really interesting. But right now, the 80 of Kyle Driscoll from Tallahassee, Florida, has the green flag. We are back underway on lap number 138. This is going to be a wild restart. Look at him go. Oh, my.
Now they're kicking it.
Yeah, they just kicked it into the sixth gear like this was IndyCar. My goodness, they are whipping it around this track.
I say it's 13 laps to go. Got to leave it all on the table or go home. As he sees Amelia Nielsen coming in second place right now. Callan Fleming third. A couple lap cars in the mix there too, but that's neither here nor there. Some actual too wide. Looks like the O2 going around Patrick Starr there.
He does make that pass. John Reese in fourth, the native of Belvidere, New Jersey. He's trying to get his first career top 5. And also Kyle Driscoll trying to get his first career win. He was denied at Homestead after running in second and even leading some laps. Of course, his Florida friend Ryan Adema ended up taking that win, which was his fourth of his career. And right now, Kyle Driscoll might have his first career cup win, although that could still very well be denied if something goes wrong.
Wilkins just passed like 3 cars in one turn on the outside there, jumping all the way from, I think it was 15th to 11th. That is Daniel Rivera to the outside as well, with the 62 right behind him, shuffling back in behind Jesse Owens Jr.
Dan Wilkins did restart 15th. He is now in 11th, right behind his own mother, Donna Wilkins, in the 13.
Say Ryan Adema, our former leader, stuck in 16th in traffic. Back through the field. Looks like we have...
Man, the 80 of Kyle Driscoll pulling away. There's 2 lap cars in front of him, too. It's Christian Coppola and Luis Aguilar in 31st and 32nd. That's the barrier that the 80 needs to hold off to 27. I mean, the Shock Motorsports has really had an up-and-down year. Ward Burton got hurt. That ended up flipping everything on its tails. And now they were contending last year, didn't get a win. Now they are just a few turns away as we come to 3 to go this time by from getting the first career win in that team's history. That would be really a great story to hear.
Be very special for that team indeed after all the tribulations they've been through. There's only 2 laps separating them as they come to the stripe from that and 6 in victory.
That would be 1 mile. Two go-arounds on the 0.5 mile oval. The last great Coliseum from Bristol, Tennessee. Last year it was Ian Korob and Armin Salvador, two winners of the unique kind. But this time, it might be a bit more different than what we were expecting as the white flag is in the air. Oh my goodness, he is going to do it, and he is going to do it with flying colors. Kyle Driscoll wins at Bristol.
See where the finishing order leads us.
Yeah, I mean, that was a 2.12 second margin of victory, as it's like they got a bit jammed up. Oh, Riley Wedge made contact with the 0-1 of Charlotte Kelly on that last turn 4 there, so as everybody goes in the pit lane to say their goodbyes, your top 10, Kyle Driscoll. Amelia Nielsen in second, her best career finish. Callan Fleming in third, also best career finish. John Reese in fourth, Werrell Daltrip in fifth, Matthew Green in sixth, Chris Lattimore in seventh, Ronnie Martin in eighth, Nelson Reeves with a ninth place finish, and Dan Wilkins, who led the most laps today, he's going to have to settle for 10th. And of course, Ryan Adema, who was your pole sitter, he was back in 17th. Not what he wanted to see. Probably might mean the points lead change too, since the second place driver, Carlos Rex, he was in... Let's see, where did he finish? He finished 29th. And also, just something to note, the 65 of Creed Daniel was disqualified. I'm going to look back at the race tape and see, after we go off air here, I'm going to look back at the race tape and see what happened to determine if there will be any... Yes.
Looks like he was 13 laps down and 37th anyway, because I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, it's showing on my end that he was disqualified, but I'm going to have to take a look. But it says he only completed 137 laps, so we're going to have to take a look at that. But we do know in the MSCCT that usually when you get disqualified in-game, it means a one-race suspension, which wouldn't be good for Pacific Racing. But we did adapt the rules this season to where it wouldn't be automatic. We would have to look at the replay and see if there was anything that was justifiable. If not, we let it go. Obviously, the 65 team has been in limbo these last couple of weeks with Ethan Farley filling in for Creed at Michigan. This was his first race back. I'm going to go, but this is obviously a weird situation, but we will take a look at that as soon as possible. With that being said, Kyle Driscoll picks up his first career win. This time it is at Bristol Motor Speedway. So from the high banks of Bristol in the Tennessee short track, this has been Dan Wilkins with my co-commentator Ryan Adema. We hope that you have enjoyed this broadcast and this production, as we hope to do more of these co-commentating races where we have 2, maybe 3 people in the booth during one of these events. So from my studio in New Jersey and from his in Fort Myers, Florida, we're signing off for now. But the 80 of Kyle Driscoll goes to victory lane in the HCA Healthcare 500. See y'all next time.